Hello friends, Vipin from Learning Reel. During today's coffee time, I thought of having a conversation with you around change based on a great book I've ever read, Who Moved My Cheese by Dr. Spencer Johnson. Thank you, Johan, for gifting me this book. Really made a big difference in my life. In fact, I would recommend this book to anyone who believes in change or looking for a change in their life. So, here we go. So the book starts off with a reunion of classmates, wherein one of the guys sharing this cheese story with the rest of the group. So there are about 4 characters in this story: the mice, Sniff and Scurry, and the little people, Hem and Ho. So all these 4 characters, look for their favorite cheese every single day in a maze. So cheese here, a metaphor of something you can think of: a big house, a great job, the relationship what you're looking for, or maybe a peaceful life. And the maze stands here for the time you spend. In fact, I can say you're working for a company, you start off with a relationship where you're spending your time mostly to get that cheese. So once you get the cheese, right, in all our life, we get so happy about it, right? And if it's taken away, then it can be a big traumatic situation for all of us, right? So there comes the story of cheese begins. I would not be sharing this whole book with you because I would really request you to go through that book by yourself, because it's just about 100 odd pages and you can finish off it in probably an hour, or max probably within 2 hours of time. So it's a great book. It's a very nice story you can go through. Really going to make a difference in your life. As the Sniff and Scurry, they are mice, right? So they have the simple rodent brains, and the Sniff with great nose, he can go into the direction of a great cheese, whereas Scurry used to follow him or race along with him, right? And whereas the little people, they have their own brains, their own beliefs. They also look for their favorite cheese every single day. And as the story progresses, they all find their own favorite cheese in one of the cheese station. And the moment they find the cheese, the mice is going to remove their shoes and hang it around their neck so that it can become handy for them anytime as situation changes. Whereas looking at the little people, Hem and Ho, so once they found the great cheese what they're looking for, they kind of throw away their jogging track or running shoes and so on, thinking that this is going to be for their lifelong, and they're pretty happy with what they have achieved, right? So same way in our life also, once we find probably something what we can think of is a cheese for us, we stick around to it, and then we think that, okay, now we are done, right? So we kind of get adjusted to that situation and get comfortable into that situation. So I've made some notes for sharing that with you so that probably you can get influenced, who knows, to read this book, right? So the first one I made it is having cheese makes you happy. So as I said, once we get the cheese, the job or the house or the relationship or a car, you get happy naturally, right? Who doesn't like to enjoy what you really achieved in your life? Including me, everybody, right? So that's the first point. And the more important the cheese is for you, the more you wanted to hold on to it, right? So if you buy a nice car, right, the more important it is to us because we kind of earn that, with our hardships and all the things. And then the more you want to hold on to it. So car is a very good example here, right? So, and then it comes, if you don't change, you can become extinct. So in the story of cheese, as I said, the mice and the little people found their favorite cheese in the cheese station, and they slowly becoming, more confident that this is going to be forever for them, and they started feeling that this is something they deserve it. They are entitled for this cheese, and slowly it turns into an arrogance. Sometimes they used to share with their friends, sometimes not. But what really talks about that if you don't change, you can become extinct. But what really happens here in the story is that the cheese station, right? Slowly the cheese is getting over, and one fine day, the cheese is no cheese left, right? So that's basically it says that if you don't change, you can become extinct. Because in our life also, we need to make sure that things are changing, right? The only constant thing in the world is change. So we need to make sure that what we have, is it really the situation is changing, be it in a job or be it in our life. And if you don't adapt to that change, then you can become extinct, right? You will be nowhere. And then and then when you have these situation changes in your life, and then in the story of this, the mice start wearing that, when they found that the cheese is getting over in the cheese station, they quickly adapted to the change. And the problem was very simple for them: wear the shoes back again and run in the maze to find another cheese station, so that they can continue the journey, right? Whereas the little people, what really they have done, the cheese got over one fine day, and him started becoming so much resistant to change, because he believed that this is something he deserved it, and who can move that, and he wants to go to the bottom of it and find what really changed. In the story, they will be breaking the walls, trying to find that if there is any more cheese there. In fact, the situation was like that there was no cheese left. So for him, going back into the maze and finding another cheese station, because the maze is dark, it's scary, and you can get afraid, right? Slowly as the story progresses, Ho becomes more and more confident about adapting the change, and finally he moves on searching for a cheese within the maze. And these points, what I'm talking about, is something he has written on the walls of the maze, or during the journey as he progresses in finding the new cheese, right? So the question here in between the book asks is, or maybe in the story, that what would you do if you weren't afraid? So many of the times in our life also, we get so afraid to make changes in that. So if you ask me that the initiative what I have about sharing these stories with you is something I thought, will it be successful, will not be successful, how people will react to it, then I said, okay, why should I get afraid of all these kind of things? Whereas if I like to do this, let's go ahead and make this change and share with somebody who probably will benefit out of it, right? So there's no need to get afraid of making those changes in your life, is what I would suggest. And the next point here is, the movement in a new direction helps you to find the new cheese, right? So in all our life, we need to have some level of directions. We need to look for those cheese in the new directions, and you start imagining about that new dreams and new thoughts, makes you happy, right? So, and if you don't do that, you will not find that place where you want to go, right? That's pretty much, it says that movement in a new direction helps you to find the new cheese. But if you don't move in that direction, then you don't, right? You stick around and cursing yourself, complaining about why things are not working the way you wanted, because you yourself is resistant for the change you want to make in your life, and go in that direction which is new for you, which might be scary, it might be tough. But then if you don't do that, you don't get the cheese what you're looking for, because anyway the situation here is already been changed. And the next point here in the book is, in fact, what Ho has written on the walls of the maze. When you stop being afraid, you feel good. So once you start taking that step, right, then probably you would, initially you will be afraid of making those changes, because you don't know whether it would be successful or it would be a failure, and you might be afraid of that failure, and then you will be nowhere, right? But as our life progresses, and if you are becoming more and more confident about making those changes, and you don't get afraid, you will feel like good, right? Yeah, this is good. I mean, yeah, this is, even though it is tough, it is challenging, but there is of course a happiness around it, because you know that you're going to find the new cheese, probably better than what you have found already, or the success what you have tasted in your life already, right? So don't get afraid in terms of making those changes. You may fall, but pull up the socks again and go for that new cheese again in the new direction. The next point here is imagining yourself enjoying your new cheese leads you to it. So imagine, right? So that's what I was talking about, the dreams, right? So have good dreams, right? If you don't have dreams, you will never be able to achieve that. So imagine yourself that you are enjoying that new cheese. Say for example, if you want to have a good car, imagine yourself that you're driving that car in a national highway, right? And with your family and with your kids, loving that journey, right? You're going for a vacation or road trip, right? So similarly, you need to imagine yourself having those cheese, or maybe a higher studies, you start feeling that I need to do a post-graduation or a graduation, whatever you're looking for. Imagine yourself that you're having that and you're enjoying it. Probably that will lead you to make those changes, right? The next point here in the book is the quicker you let go of old cheese, the sooner you will find the new cheese. So something what is teaching us through this story or this book is that you need to let go, right? The old cheese, the cheese in the story is getting, spoiled, and the little people, started thinking that this is going to be forever. But then, sometimes what happens is that you may have some sort of a skills in your life, and that getting older and older, and then you may have to revise your skills and go and get ready for the market again, right? So the faster and the quicker you let go of the old cheese, right, the sooner you will find the new destiny or new place or new happiness, right? So the next point here in this book, as Ho has written on the walls of the maze, it is safer to search in a maze than remain in a cheeseless station. So, sometimes during that, journey of Ho finding a new cheese station, right? So he used to laugh at himself, what mistakes he has done, why he didn't think about this change before, and so on, right? So it's always safer to be in search of the new cheese in the maze rather than being in a cheeseless station thinking that somebody is going to come back and keep that cheese for you again, right? Nobody is going to come and give you unless you start feeling that I need to get up and then I need to make those changes in our life. So old belief do not lead you to new cheese, So in our life also we have a lot of beliefs, because we are human beings. With our experience we'll start believing many things, and then what happens, we live up to those beliefs, and then leads into our actions, our behaviors, our steps going forward. What this really talks about, that it doesn't lead you, experience of course counts, where you're failing, and those failures would be a great lesson for your success in your next step, but that always doesn't lead you to new cheese. So you have to let go some of your old belief, you have to unlearn some of the things and learn new things so that you can find new cheese. So the next one here is that when you see that you can find and enjoy new cheese, you change the course. As the story progresses, Haim goes multiple cheese stations. There are times he felt empty, nothing is working out. He started thinking of giving up, but he doesn't quit because he finds some small pieces of cheese here and there. So that's what it talks about. When you see that you can find and enjoy new cheese, you change the course. So as you started reaping some results of your struggle, what you do to in order to get adapted to the new change, that will give you a good course of energy to lead into a new cheese, right? So the next thing here, noticing small changes early helps you adapt to the bigger changes that are to come. So what really we miss in our life, in our job, in our relationship, is that we don't find that early changes, thinking that, oh, this nothing is going to change, right? But the faster you understand those small changes, the faster you would be able to adapt to the bigger change and embrace that change, and then you can move along with it, right? So be a change agent, right, at times. So that's pretty much the major points what Ho has written on the walls. But the story ends with Ho finding the new cheese station, and there he finds pretty much tastier cheese than what he had before. And when he reached there, he already saw the mice were there already enjoying that, because they were quick enough to make those changes in their life and adapt to that, and then find the new cheese, right? And at times Ho thinks that, okay, should I go back and find him, pull him back into the station? Then he start thinking that, okay, it's nothing, nobody can teach that. He needs to find himself the necessity of change, and then come along the journey. Probably him can go through all these journey what they have gone through, and then finally reach this destination where there are new cheese available, so he can taste it better. So nobody can teach him. So he himself needs to make those decisions, right? And then once Ho reaches there in the new cheese station and having enjoying all the cheese, and then he started writing some summary on the walls of the new cheese station. The one it talks about that change happens, they keep moving the cheese. So somebody or the other will keep moving the cheese in your life, right? So change happens, that's natural, right? So don't get surprised or shocked to see the changes happening, because so you yourself need to make those changes initially, so that you will not get surprised or shocked with the change what's happening. So the next one he has written as a summary that anticipate the change, get ready for cheese to move. So anticipate the change, identify those small changes happening in our life, in our education, in our job, in our life, in our journey, in our community, and whatnot, right? So continue monitoring the change. So smell the cheese often, so you know when it is getting old. So basically what the book is telling you, smell the cheese, right? So smell the life what you are in, right? Find if there is anything going wrong. Are you really hanging those jogging track and the running shoes around your neck to make those changes at the right time to go and march ahead in the darkness, in those struggles, so that you will not be a failure again? Towards the end, it talks about enjoying the change and be ready to change quickly and enjoy it again. They keep moving the cheese. So, and I have a question to all of you that, in your real life, who among these 4 characters you are? Sniff, identify the great cheese out there, and he sniffs out. Scure is somebody who can race along with those changes and, keep adapting to it quickly. Him, who is very reluctant, resistant to changes, still thinking that somebody is going to put back those cheese back again for him. And Hope, initially having some sort of resistance, but as you start finding it's more difficult, pull up the socks and start finding new cheese in the maze and ready to get into the difficulties once again, so that he can again find that cheese and be happy with what he gets it as an outcome. So that's all what I have from this book. It's a great book. I would again recommend you to go through this book. It will really make a difference in your life. Thank you so much for joining with me today during this coffee session. I hope you will find this useful, and you will also share the story with many others who might really require to change in their life. So thank you. Have a nice day.